This is a series, I guess I'll call it, that I've been wanting to get to for a while. There is a tendency, more so in Raid, and I'll get to why I think that is. There's a tendency in Raid to exclude champions from the conversation of good champs because they're not meta, because they're not in game, they're not meta. And I think that the reason that is because Raid is just not balanced yet, right? Hopefully they're working to get the game balanced to where more champions can shine in more areas and maybe achieve something a little bit closer to what Summoner's War has going on, where there's such a broad range of teams you can take into any particular part of that game and be successful if you understand the mechanics and you take the time to farm the gear and get your teams right. That's a little bit less possible here in Raid. You know, there's some very smart players here, and things are getting figured out, but it's much more difficult, and it's still much more isolated, right? So there's a tendency where if a champion's not part of the meta, then they're just not good. They're not worth investing in, and that's kind of the attitude. So it's in large part, I think, the fault of Plarium, right? They need to work to balance this game a little better, diversify the champ pool a little bit, make a little bit more farmable, make a little bit more accessible to everybody. And maybe that's what they're doing, right? I don't expect it to happen overnight, but hopefully that's the direction we're headed in now. That being said, there are a lot of champions that are good, right? That you can do a lot of things with that are very useful, that are getting excluded, right? So I kind of want to highlight some of these champs. So today we're going to start with Lord Champfort, okay? This is a champ. Now, he did catch a buff recently, and let's talk a little bit about his kit real quick. Real quick. He is an HP champ. Everything he does scales off HP. He has an A1 defense break, which is always useful. He has an A2 AoE attack that also scales off HP. It's an attack down and a decreased accuracy, very helpful. And then we've got a passive. At the start of each turn, places a shield buff on this champion equal to 20% of their max HP for 2 turns. We'll place a 15% decreased speed debuff for 1 turn on whichever enemy attacks this champion, right? So if anybody hits him, they catch a slow. And then he's got a 50% HP lead in dungeons, okay? That's nutty. That means if you make him the lead and take him into a dungeon before you put a single piece of gear on him, that's an extra 11,000 HP. So he's at 33,000 HP at a baseline. That's before you even start putting gear on him, okay? You can scale his HP up real quick. You can get his HP real high, real quick, without crazy gear, okay? I want you also to note, I don't have him skilled up. I put 1 book in him that went to his passive a while back, but other than I purposely did not skill him up. I purposely did not deck him out with accessories. I purposely put all 5-star gear on him. I tried my best to make this as reasonable as possible, as mediocre as possible, and he's still at 72,000 HP before his dungeon lead, okay? You can very easily get this dude over 100,000 HP, especially with his dungeon lead. It is crazy. I'm gonna click through the gear real quick and show you. Here we've got crit rate, we've got a decent HP roll and a small speed roll. Again, I'm purposefully trying to avoid the best I can hitting all the stats we want to hit. What you really want in this dude is HP percentage, speed, and accuracy. If you can get crit stats, great. If you can get defense, great. Those aren't mandatory. The big things you want to be looking for in him are HP, speed, and accuracy. Immortal sets are going to be dropping from Clan Boss as you're playing the game. And again, these pieces are not crazy. The craziest thing on him is the helmet. The second craziest thing is the shield. But you'll see as we look at all the pieces of gear, I think it balances out, right? So, of course, the helmet was something I was using on someone else. I moved it over. Don't worry about the resistance. The HP rolls are good. He did get a speed roll. And then here we've got a pretty decent piece for him, right? We hit all 3 of the stats. But if we look at his gloves, there's nothing in the substats helping him here. There's a little bit of defense in the substats here, but it's not that big of a deal for what we're doing with him. And then there's a little bit of defense on the boots. Again, not a big deal. It is a legendary banner, but it's got 9 speed. Nothing else in there is really doing much for him, right? The 2 flat HP rolls are nice, but between the fact that the bottom 3 pieces of gear don't really do much for him, they're not 16'd, and the fact that I did not put an amulet and a ring on this dude, I don't want to hear anything about how he's got crazy in-game gear when I show you everything that this dude is capable of, okay? This is a very attainable build, and if you can't hit these numbers, if you can't get him built like this, then you're probably just not ready to do the things that I'm about to show you. But keep in mind, when you're watching him do the things that I'm about to put on the screen, this is his build. It's not crazy, right? You can get these numbers way higher. These are the masteries that I went with on him. If you wanted to take a look at those, we went with the HP mastery again just to shoot it up a bit. We're trying to extend debuffs. We've got Lore of Steel to make the HP or immortal sets do a little bit more on him. Increase the value of his shield, right? Just little things like that we can do here and there to shoot his HP up and his survivability up. You put triple immortal on this dude and get his HP kind of high, he's virtually unkillable in PvE content. It's really hard for him to die. Dragons gets rough because he's such a slow trickle of damage without crit stats. He's not a heavy nuker anyway, but it's such a slow trickle that when the dragon gets low and he does more damage because his health is low, he kind of slices through. Maybe with crazier gear he could do it, but I'm going to hop on over and let a couple of things play for you. And see, I recorded these separately, so I guess I'm gonna have to talk over them in fast motion and hope that I get the speed right. But the first thing that I want to talk about, well, let's just put him up. Let's put him up, let you see. All right, so this is Ice Golem 20, and you'll see he's the only champ that we're taking in. Now, keep in mind during this run that this is not something you would be doing, okay? The point of this is not to show you a strat. The point of this is to just show you that he's capable of it without ridiculous gear, right? He doesn't have, this is not Murder Inc. level gear, me throwing the most insane gear you've ever seen on someone and saying that this is something they do, right? This is a very mediocre build for Lord Champfort, right? HP lead, his HP goes way up. The triple immortal sets, he's healing himself every turn. Again, this is not a strat. This is not something that I'm suggesting that you do. I simply want you to see that he can do it. Because it is important to acknowledge that he can do it. That's really it. If a champ, these level 20 dungeons in this game are very difficult. Every level 20 dungeon is hard in this game. If there's a champ with any level of gear that can do them by themselves, it's really hard to make an argument that they're not good. Again, no matter how good the gear is. But if you could take a champion and put mediocre gear on them, right? Gear that's pretty accessible to, I would say, players even in the early mid-game. I would say a lot of this is accessible to you. You can farm the lower levels of Spider and get lucky on a 5-star banner. You can get 5-star immortal gear from the pretty low levels of Clan Boss. None of this gear is through the roof. And this is not even, a lot of it's not even glyphed up. Again, he's not on a full accessory setup. He's got mediocre gear, and he's soloing a very difficult dungeon. There's a lot of people who have been playing that are bringing in full teams that are struggling to clear Ice Golem 20. This dude's doing it by himself. So the point that I'm trying to make to you is, if you have Lord Champfort, he can do this. So if you bring in a team with him, it's only going to speed up. It's only going to be more effective. But the point is that he can carry it. He can carry himself through it, even with the heal blocks, okay? Keep in mind that one of the minions at the boss puts a heal block up, and the other one puts a defense block up, and he's rarely going to resist them. And even through that, they still can't take him out. The shield that he's putting on himself, his HP, the fact that he basically keeps an attack down up, he keeps the speed break up, he's able to turn cycle around them. Again, basically with permanent heal block until he drops that left minion, then he can heal himself back up, and that's where the balance kind of comes back into play, right? Because once that heal block minion's gone, he starts kind of running laps, and he's able to get his health back up so that the next time Frigid Vengeance happens, his health is full, and you can kind of go through the cycle again. So again, it's a very long run. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm simply showing you that he can do it, okay? It's important to take note of the fact that he's capable of something this insane, all right? So next, we're gonna move on to a dragon run that we did with him. Now, Again, you almost certainly have better options than the team that's in here. Okay, this is not so much a Dragon Dungeon strat or a Dragon Dungeon team that I'm showcasing you, as much as it is me showing you a Champfort carry through the Dragon Dungeon, right? So we've got War Maiden, who is an inherently squishy champion. We have Tanyx, who's one of the free epics that doesn't really get used for much, and she's not contributing at the boss, right? Her big contribution is that if there's a speed break on the enemy she hits with her A1, she heals the team. You can't put a speed break on the dragon, so this is kind of just for a little bit of support in the waves, and again, just to fill the spot. We have Rosin, who is the quote-unquote free-to-play fusion. He's not as accessible as I would like him to be. Hopefully that changes in the future. He's in here, honestly, just to kind of speed this up a little bit. Because I'm not trying to bring Champfort in here to solo the dragon, and again, when the dragon's HP gets low, it gets a little harder to do something like that with Champfort. Bad Elk can do it, but Champfort struggles a little bit. And again, I haven't tried him on a crazy build. Maybe if I put him on a crazier build, he could come in here and do it. But I just kind of wanted to speed it up. And then Apothecary, again, a very solid rare. But this can be done, again, you're almost certainly gonna have a better option for a team. This is simply to show you that you can just kind of mash some champs together and Champfort can carry, right? If you've got any sort of team synergy, any sort of reasonable gear, then Champfort can carry you through a good portion of this game, okay? So you've got Ice Golem 20 solo, you've got a decently timed dragon run with a team that is not really designed for each other. It's just a collection of champs with Champfort in here carrying, okay? And then another thing to show real quick, if you have a Champfort, and I did this earlier with Champfort with about 30,000 less HP on Brutal. He can 3-star all the way Brutal without really even a hiccup. They have a hard time even getting his shield off of him. So he can pretty much 3-star through Brutal without even losing his shield. And then on this next run, it's a little bit longer, but he can basically 3-star up to the last boss. And Nightmare, he might struggle if there's a stage where he has affinity disadvantage, but this is a stage right before the final boss on Nightmare, and you can see he was never really even in any danger. He struggles with the boss stage of Nightmare of 12-7 because that stage is crazy, and you know, there are reasons that, you know, I think Krutroxa ignores some defense and the boss hits insanely hard. So he won't solo the boss with his current build. Again, maybe with a different build he could, but he is a hard carry. So if you've got him earlier in the game, or even in the mid game, and you've got him sitting in the vault because someone told you he wasn't good, maybe reconsider, right? Let's just take another look at him real quick. And again, take note, he's not skilled up. He doesn't have full gear. None of it is 6-star. Nothing on him is crazy. And again, I know it seems like 72,000 HP is crazy, right? To say that out loud, you're like, man, that's a lot of HP. It's really not on him. It's really not. That scales so well. That's not even with stuff 16. That's not 6-star. Don't sleep on this dude, man. He's a great carry. He's a great support. You can do a lot with him for a very long time. And unless you've got a champ box that looks like this, right? Unless you've got a lot of crazy stuff and you're able to speed through all these dungeons, he offers a ton of support, a ton of survivability, and you can take this dude around. You can get some good success out of him. Earlier game arena, he's gonna be a nightmare to kill, man. You're going to be able to get him so tanky so quick. He's got that AoE attack break. He's going to be reducing the damage that he takes. He's going to be real hard to get out of there. So he's going to help you climb up in earlier game arena. Give this dude a shot. He is not a bad champ. He's not meta, but he's a very effective champ if you're struggling to get through some of the PvE content and even some of the earlier arena content. I would bet maybe we'll pull him on the free to play, and I'll get to put him to use there. But that's really it. I just wanted to showcase a little bit of what this guy was capable of, let you see it, rather than just tell you. I had a hunch he could solo Ice Golem 20. I did not think he could do it with gear like this. I thought I was going to have to stack him up and make him a little bit crazy to make him do it, but he did it, and he was never really even in that much trouble, right? I think once toward the end, he missed the attack break, and his HP dropped a little bit, but he's a bad dude, all right? Nothing on him's crazy. You can do this. You can reach this build. Give Champfort a shot. That's it. That's all I wanted to do. And I'm going to do this with other champs. So if there's some champs you would like to get a look at, let me know in the comments. I'm open to suggestions for the series. I have several other champs in mind, but I'm going to try to keep this going for a little bit and show, spotlight some of these champs that I don't think are getting enough love. I do have one on Jingle Hunter that I did a while back that might be worth checking out too. He's a lot more decent than I think people are giving him credit for. But I'm gonna keep this going. I'm gonna try to showcase some other champs. So let me know if you learned something from this one. First of all, maybe you learned that Champfort is not a chump like everybody keeps calling him. Don't be talking about my dude Champ, bro. That's it. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm done rambling. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you got some out of it. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if there's any champs you would like to see me go over. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you